Time now for MediaWatch, and I'm joined now by Emma James. Hi there, Emma. You've been looking at the fight against voter apathy here in France, and it makes for some rather unsettling reading.
It really does. The French election is starting to look like the plot of some kind of suspense movie, maybe under the name of the Abstentionists. And it is Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the far-left leader of La France Insoumise, or Rebellious France, who is very much in the role of kingmaker, but it doesn't seem to be a role that he wishes to play. Now, this cartoonist has him saying, don't ask me to choose a programme, while Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron are arguing over a Whirlpool washing machine, a nod, of course, to the trip to Amiens that the pair made earlier this week, which was quite a PR coup for Marine Le Pen. Macron really took a little bit of a hammering there, although he did turn it around according to a lot of people. But of course, the headlines were all about him being booed and whistled at. Now, Jean-Luc Mélenchon posted a video on YouTube today. It was long-awaited and lengthy, and people were wondering if he might endorse Emmanuel Macron and encourage his voters in the first round to go for Macron in the second round. He does seem to really be enjoying his moment in the spotlight. Take a look at how this video started.
Bonjour. Hello, welcome to the 26th episode of Review of the Week. 320,000 of you have subscribed to this channel. You are my freedom, the way for me to express myself without being interrupted every 2 seconds, to develop a way of thinking of more than 140 characters, with reason behind it. Let's go, roll the titles. Générique.
Now, this video went on for a good half an hour, and it was 20 minutes before we got a clear idea that he wasn't going to tell us who he's going to vote for. What he did say is that everybody knows I'm not going to vote for the National Front, but he said, I'm not going to tell you what I am doing with my vote. Lots of people wondering if that means he will vote Macron or will he vote blanc, as they say here, which is put a blank piece of paper in. And this cartoonist, Rodo, has come up with La France Insomnie, Insomniac France, because people are up late at night worrying about what they should do in this second round of the election. Should they abstain? Should they put in a blank piece of paper? Should they vote Emmanuel Macron? And a lot of people questioning this. Now, Jean-Luc Mélenchon has been in politics for many, many years, but this particular movement, he only started just over a year ago. So it is quite impressive that he's garnered this much support. 19.6% of the vote went to him in the first round of those elections. More than a million people follow him on Twitter, and people really have been waiting for this endorsement to see whether or not it's going to sway them on their voting habits. And some people think that he is playing some power games, perhaps. This cartoonist has the new campaign posters, and you've got Emmanuel Macron with Together France, Marine Le Pen with Choose France, and then Jean-Luc Mélenchon alongside saying, don't choose alone, almost implying that he wants to dictate what his voters should do next. Marine Le Pen is certainly looking to capitalise on the fact that he hasn't endorsed anyone. She issued a video message earlier calling on people to vote for her to block Emmanuel Macron with the hashtag #DangerMacron. Now, looking at the Daily Beast, they are talking about the fact that Mélenchon is often compared to Bernie Sanders, of course, the American candidate who ran against Hillary Clinton. And he does appear to have attracted his own version of the Bernie bros, these really fired up supporters who take to social media, can be quite aggressive in the way in which they do it. And Alexander Hurst, who wrote this article, said that Mélenchon's behaviour on election night was churlish. I don't think he'll have been too impressed with that video that was released today, where Mélenchon does seem decidedly sulky. But he says moments of folly aren't limited to one side of the Atlantic. It remains possible Marine Le Pen could be elected, especially if there is a low turnout. Plenty of people just don't really understand what it is that is making people consider maybe switching from the far left right to the other end of the spectrum and voting far right, or talking about not bothering to vote. Now, if we look at this article from 15 years ago that somebody's retweeted today in the New York Times, they're talking about in 2002 when Jean-Marie Le Pen made it into the second round of the election. 1 million people came out onto the streets to protest his presence there. 80% of votes went to Jacques Chirac, his rival in the second round. We know that's not going to be the case this time around. We'll wait to see just how big the gap might be.
Yeah, that leaves a lot of people asking, what has changed during this last decade and a half in terms of attitudes.
Absolutely. Well, you could call it the Trump effect, or you could maybe say it is just a desire for political change. But certainly people are rejecting traditional politics and traditional politicians. This Twitter user says that he fears that Mélenchon's followers want their man or chaos. And he illustrates that with this tweet from someone saying that I prefer civil war, 5 years of monstrous chaos and electric shock so that people open their eyes, otherwise nothing will ever change, which is a very extreme view. This cartoonist Ransom in Le Parisien today says, as if I'm going to vote for a banker, talking about Emmanuel Macron. And the woman saying, you're right, a daughter of a millionaire, she understands us. And it is that strange irony that people see Marine Le Pen as the voice of the people, while Emmanuel Macron is not. Elsewhere on Twitter, we've got this user saying, I fear that what's going to happen on the 7th of May, I want to vote blanc, put in that blank piece of paper, but I will vote Emmanuel Macron. However, I will never stop fighting his politics. So a very divided France right now.
OK, well, thank you very much indeed. Emma James there with today's edition of Media Watch.